May we bless this space. May we speak from our highest knowing. May we speak for and with the highest and greatest good for all. And the card is, oh my God, deep dive.
Wow.
We definitely are deep diving. Let me.
Amazing. Is it an
Let me.
oracle set or is it what kind of set is it?
It's a shaman's dream set.
Ooh.
So my intention this year was the year of magic, right? The year of magic, and so this is all about magic and dreaming, and yeah, like I really love like the shaman. I think it's Albert. I can't pronounce his name, but like they create these series all about the mystical, and this is the second deck, and so. Deep dive, diving into a task, says embracing risk, diving into a task and new discoveries. It's easy to play in the shallows where the waters are clear and you can see all that glitters by your feet. Anyone can venture here. There is little risk, nothing to discover, and no dark secret, nothing that you can't already perceive. The treasure has long been picked away, replaced by a gentle certainty. In the shallow river is safety and no surprises. But that's not who's calling you now. The deep diver invites you to take the plunge with him. You can't see the bottom, but you must swim into the dark depths to find the mystery that eludes you. Who knows where the pearls lie underneath the ancient sands? You're called to look beyond the surface of things for your answer. Let your intuition propel you into the water, allowing your memories to swirl around you and your emotions to well up as you face the unknown. Your curiosity will be your greatest guide. You'll surely discover something wondrous to bring back to everyone who is waiting by the shore. But only you will truly know the value of your discovery. Are you willing to do the work, dive in, make the commitment to see it through, and you'll be amazed? Which is so perfect for the hero's
That
journey.
is, yes, I just wanted to say, I remember this quote by Joseph Campbell where he says, like, don't be scared, something around like, don't be scared to enter the dark cave because it holds the treasure you are seeking, or something like this. So
So good.
beautiful, amazing. I'm
Yeah,
so excited for this podcast. And with
me
that, I
too.
also want to welcome all of you to the listeners to the Hero's Journey podcast, sacred space where you can kiss your doubt goodbye and embark with confidence and love on your quest to become the hero on your journey back to wholeness. And together with brilliant minds, we venture into the unknown to revive and mend what is torn and to patch what is missing and to nourish you with some really, really beautiful, wholesome stories. And today we have beautiful Yummii here. I also kind of got to know her somehow, like through the Dr. Joe community. I reached out to her once, and we talked then. It was already like 2 years back, where she was helping me move through something. And recently, I have her newsletter, so I went through it and I really enjoy reading her newsletter. I think one of the few ones that I actually enjoy reading and that I actually read. And the latest one, or like, well, the where I reached out to her was about, yeah, integration, like acting and just how important it is to come from an integrated place, which sometimes I feel like is missing. Everyone is on their journey, so there is no judgment here. But I noticed it's integration and honesty to yourself and to others is so important. So right now, we will dive deep into her journey, and I know she has some really beautiful wisdom about how to live from the heart, how to act and live from an integrated place, leaving shame and guilt behind. And yes, I'm really excited for you to be on this beautiful journey with us. And with this, I want to welcome you, Yummii. Thank you so much for being here on this podcast. This is truly a blessing. And I want to hand it over to you and just, yeah, where do you think your journey, your hero's journey started? Tell us about yourself, please.
Wow. I think I think as a human being we have many heroes journeys in in terms of like certain areas of life that we navigate. Um, but I think the ultimate hero's journey for me was learning how to love myself. Like
Mm,
really, really love myself. Really, really know that I'm whole. Really be able to have this deep connection to my inner wisdom, to know that I'm guided, to be able to know how to forgive myself, to be able to know how to access grace for myself, to be able to be my best friend. I think that was the hardest journey that I've ever
mm,
been on, and yet the most profound one.
beautiful. Yes. It's funny that the hardest thing is to give yourself love. It's not so difficult for to give love or to have love for other people or for things or experiences, but when it comes to yourself, surprisingly, there are a lot of walls around our hearts. So I'm curious and really excited to hear how you met these walls and how you were initiated into this journey back to your heart. I know, I think, but I'm excited to hear it from you that it started with a marriage or divorce, but I leave it the room to you to take us by hand and take us along your journey back to the heart.
Yeah, this is, I think there comes a point in time where you realize no one's coming to save you.
Hmm.
And even if people wanted to save you, they can't.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, for the first 29 years of my life, it was very tumultuous. And yet I did everything by the book, like I went to school, got the grades, got the uni degree, um, got the grad job, started my own businesses. And so on a surface level, everything looked well. But on an inner level, everything was chaotic. Like there was self harm, I wasn't exactly the healthiest person in my relationship to self. I had a string of bad relationships, all of which I'm the common denominator, right? So I can't blame them. But it wasn't until I was married, and it wasn't because of the marriage that, that stirred any something, but it was the depth in which I was so desperate for love that I finally met this that freed me.
Yes.
So there was this point in our relationship, so this is my ex-husband and I, where I knew when he proposed he wasn't the one. Not that there is the one, but when he proposed, there was something in my body that said this is not it. And it was really loud, and I went against my gut feeling.
Mm.
We were backpacking in Angkor. We were in Cambodia. We were backpacking. He proposed in Angkor Wat. He did it in a really romantic way, and he was like the first boyfriend that didn't cheat on me. And I thought, okay, my criteria for marrying someone is as long as they don't cheat on you. That was my standard. And it was very much about me giving versus who did I get to be in this relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so when he proposed, my gut feel was no, but my head was just say yes because this is as good as it gets for you.
Mm-hmm.
So then I said yes. And during that time, I mean, I kept breaking off the engagement every few weeks. And I'd never followed through. Like I gave back the ring. I didn't even have a wedding dress on like 3 weeks before the wedding day. So there were so many signs. There were so many signs that was like, do not go through with this. But I didn't have the courage to trust my heart. And God bless him because I think he felt the same way. I think we were both at that stage where we were like, well, we're in our late 20s and we're in our early 30s and we're Asian and this is what our parents expect and this is what the culture expects. But we didn't know ourselves.
Yes.
And I remember on the wedding day, I'm standing there and I'm like, this is so wrong. Like right there on our wedding day. And, like it was, and I didn't know how to talk to anyone about that. And I didn't know who to talk to about that because everyone would tell me, this is great. And so I thought something was wrong with me, that I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after we got married that my mental health went back to what it was when I was a teenager. So as a teenager, I went through anxiety and depression. There were some really dark moments, like I attempted to take my life a few times. And it took everything to get out of that pattern and break free from the depression. And no one knew that I was going through this. So then fast forward from my teenage years to here I am in my marriage, those same feelings were coming back. And there was this moment in our marriage where I felt so alone and it was excruciating pain that the only way that I thought I could get out of this was to end my life again. Like, let's do it for real this time. Let's make sure this works this time. And so this is the moment that I think that you were reading about, where I'm at the train station and I'm looking around and everyone's just passing me by. And all I see is like lifeless, everything's lifeless. So the thing is this, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. Right? So I was looking for evidence for what's the point. Now, you would have no idea that I'm going through this because I was high-functioning depression. I had high-functioning depression. I was the head coach of an international leading organization that taught high performance all around the world. I had my own startup. I was a consultant. So everything you couldn't tell. And I was never going to show anyone that side, right? Because I felt I was weak. And so I'm at the train station, excruciating pain inside. And I'm looking at the train tracks and I'm in this mesmerized state. And then it was like I found the solution to all my problems staring right back at me. And I hear this voice and it says, it can all be solved. It can all be over. You can be free. And in Australia, we have like these train tracks and there's like a yellow line. Mm-hmm. And there's always something blasting over the speaker, stand behind the yellow line, like stand behind the yellow line. And the more that voice the more that was amplified, stand behind the yellow line, it was as though my feet would edge over and edge over until I was over the yellow line. And there was just the yellow line, me, the edge of the platform, and I'm waiting for the train. Mm-hmm. And it's really loud now and I can hear the train coming and I can feel my body and I'm just like, you just have to be brave to jump. And it's crazy how these moments happen because I remember skydiving, and so I've been skydiving before, and like you just kind of like jump, like when you dive off the pool or you dive off a cliff. And I remember that feeling, that chemical reaction, the experience all in my body, and it was like, just jump. And then the next moment, this voice said, just get on the train. And so now I'm battling really internally, and then the train comes and it goes shh, like that. And I'm like, what just happened? Mm-hmm. The train door opens. I step in. I find a seat instantly. It's an empty train, and I sit down, and it's like I'm fainting, and then I start crying. And I was so exhausted. And I remember this voice said, what part of you thought that was a good idea? And then the next question it asked was, what kind of mind do you have? And then I said, I have an unhealthy mind. And that was the start of the hero's journey, to take responsibility for me being an active participant in my relationship to myself.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's probably the start of it. And so then what happened was then about 2 weeks after that, I had the same experience where I'm driving a car and I'm like, I just want to get out of this marriage. I need to get out of this marriage. And I'm like, you can get out. Just drive over the bridge. Just go crash the car. Like, this can all be over. Like, and I was like, and then I had to stop the car. And I'm like, something needs to be done. Otherwise, I am literally going to take my life. And that's when I knew the marriage was over. And it wasn't about the marriage, but it was really about choosing me. Yeah.
But it's really profound that these questions started to come into your mind, like just at the brink before you were trying to jump. And it's fascinating as well how far the mind or like how the survival mechanism can take us, because simply getting to this point to stand there and takes quite some effort, I would say, to get to this point where you're really like on the brink on deciding I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as well, maybe you could give us a little insight of how the past Yummii was. Like, how was she thinking and how was she feeling in certain situations? Like, what was her mental model of love or self-love, or how was that?
It was very poor. It
Yeah.
probably was non-existent.
Yeah.
I could negotiate any deal in any boardroom with any stakeholders. I was very high achieving. But when it came to connection and trusting people, my mental model of the world is you can't trust anyone. No one's going to be there for you. My mental of the model of the world is I wonder what people think of me. I was consumed and so fearful of judgment. I consistently thought that there was something broken with me. There was this heaviness and this weight of all the things that I failed at. And it was just really, there was like the weight of not fulfilling my piano. That was a real kind of identity, like here's evidence of why you suck as a person because you did not get beyond grade 4 piano. But it didn't occur like that. It really occurred as you suck. I was always craving for love, like craving and desperate for love, yet pretending that I didn't care. And so I was very masculine in my ways. And the mental model was really erratic, unhealthy. I would cut people off really easily. Like, just if I felt jealous in a relationship, instead of saying, hey, I feel jealous and can we work through this, I would cut them off because that felt like more logical to do than actually, I didn't even know the feeling that I was so afraid of the noise, the emotional turmoil, and I didn't want anyone to know that I had it because everyone looked like they had it all together. And the irony was that I was trying to hold it all together and I was completely doing a terrible job at it internally.
Yeah. Wow. How did it, you said like you were in excruciating pain, like what were the physical symptoms of like suppressing all these emotions, and how did this kind of feel in your body? What was going on there?
I was so numb. I was so numb and I was obsessed with doing. So I would sleep at like 1 or 2 in the morning, wake up at like 5, go train, and every hour of my day was scheduled. I had obsessive compulsive behavior, and so like there's a pendulum swing to that, which is I'm very masterful, but at the same time I get obsessive. And so I would deep dive into a lot of things and distract myself. And I would choose exercises or things that were very aggressive. So I was really into kickboxing. I was really into martial arts. I was really just constantly just, it manifested itself out there through the consulting jobs I had, through the roles that I did. Everything was about a fight,
Mm-hmm.
right? I was always about being the one that negotiated, being the one that never lost, being the one that was project managing everyone, being so controlling over everything. So in the physical experience, it was very numb because I was constantly doing to avoid the feeling.
Then when you first you mentioned, okay, I have to end this marriage, like I have to get a divorce, or you have to face it. What was happening there? Like when you decided to face on these emotions or fears, going back to when you were driving over this bridge, how did you continue from there?
Yeah, so what I would do is whenever we had a fight, I would go sleep at my parents' house. I wouldn't even tell him. Like, I was so, in terms of the attachment theories, I was very avoidant.
Mm-hmm.
I stonewalled a lot. I shut down a lot. And when these two incidents happened, I knew that he didn't have the capacity to help me through this, not because he's a bad human being, it's just the circumstances that we were in. We were both toxic to each other,
Mm.
right? And so what happened was we had to have a conversation. We had just moved into a new apartment. And the thing was, I honestly felt and I knew that deep in our hearts, like our most pure self wanted it to work.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone gets married with the intention of it not working out. They get married for the intention of it working out. Now, I understood that. It's just that 50% of the time it was great and the other 50% of the time we were hurting each other. And so to be able to even take responsibility for that and have a really mature conversation, it was so liberating, because he said it was the first time we probably sat down and spoke truth about who we were being in the relationship and what we wanted. And he said, I thought that when we got married, you'd be a different person. I thought you'd change. I go, how so? He goes, oh, well, I thought you'd stop being an entrepreneur. I didn't realize how much I hated it that you were an entrepreneur. And then he started sharing with me how much he hated all the things that we used to do, like go to concerts, like, go to the theater. He said, I didn't like any of that. All I want is a wife that cooks, that cleans, and just focuses on family. So he didn't know that he was quite traditional.
Mm.
So he pretended that he wasn't, then gets engaged and married to someone that is completely not traditional, trying to make it work. And that's why he was so upset, because he probably didn't know that that was his truth, right? It's not because we're evil people. It's not because we wanted to be malicious, but I think there is a fear and a courage that is required to be able to go, no, this is what's important to me. This is what I wanted. And I'm allowed,
Yeah.
and I'm going to give myself permission to have this, versus, well, here's what society says is good,
Yeah.
right? So society says it's really good to have a strong woman, or society says it's really good to have a woman that is adventurous. And then he gets a woman that's adventurous and he's like, actually, I never wanted this in the first place. And that's, that's okay.
Yeah.
And, so I never hid who I was in the relationship, but I think what I needed to take responsibility for was I knew that he wasn't it in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I try to force that. And so it's a comedy of errors, right? Two people who didn't have an internal navigation system making choices. And in this conversation, he was like, yeah, you're right. Like, here's what I can be responsible for. Here's what's the truth for me. And I'm like, well, here's what's the truth for me. And I'm like, dude, I am never going to be in the kitchen cooking. I don't even know how to cook anything. And I want you to be happy. So let's set each other free. So in my heart, my intention was to have the most beautiful divorce, that I could hold my head high and my heart open wide. And so I never blamed him on anything. I took 100% responsibility for who I was being because I'm the common denominator in all my relationships. I took 100% responsibility for my part in the relationship. And then, therefore, I started taking responsibility for my part in everything that happened in my life.
How were
And that's the
you
journey.
uh how were you taking responsibility? Were you just like reflecting upon it, and was it like scary to do so? How was that process? Or were you just on the brink of like so exhausted that you were like, you know what, this old way it just doesn't work anymore? Was there also fear involved in facing these things?
Yeah. It was actually a really interesting process because when I realized that I was the common denominator in every experience of my life, what taking responsibility looked like was, where did I not speak up? Where did I lie?
Mhm.
How was I behaving? I actually analyzed myself, not from my head, but just from a really sincere part. And there was this practice that I did, and it was based on Brené Brown's book called Daring Greatly, where every day for 1,000 days, I would see whether I was in my heart or not, and I'd document it. And anyone can do this because how you behave is in one area is kind of how you behave in another area. Right? I don't, I used to prescribe to how you do one thing is how you do everything. That's not necessarily the case. But how you do things will show you a reflection of a consciousness that lives in you. So you want to look at the areas that you feel a suffocation of life force and go, well, what is my part to play in this? So when it came to my marriage, I looked at, well, what's my part to play? Was I being loving? And the answer was absolutely zero. Like, would I marry myself? I had to ask myself that question. Like, would you marry yourself? And the answer is like, no. I was always giving him the cold shoulder. I was always stonewalling. Made him sure that he was not needed.
Mhm.
Right? Like, who wants to be married to that? Of course, no one wants to be in a relationship with that. I was always too proud. I couldn't be vulnerable. And I had a chip on my shoulder where everything he said or did, I would nitpick at it. And so I had to take responsibility for these ways of being that I could then see would push someone away. And I had to look at, what am I being right about? So when I say like taking responsibility, it was really, this was the complete identity shift of like understanding my view of the world, who I was being in the world, the consciousness that was at work, looking at underneath, like, who's running the show,
Mm.
and then making a conscious effort day by day, moment by moment, to make conscious choices that's in alignment to what a wholehearted person would do. Does that answer the question, Anne-Sophie?
Yes, definitely. I'm still curious about how you were, because I could imagine that, like at the beginning, especially, or I was, while you were talking, I was trying to understand how this process would look like internally. And what I noticed is that for some things, maybe still survival instinct kicks in, like when you were saying, taking responsibility within your marriage, like what way you're doing and what way you're not doing. And what came up for me in my head was like, oh, like the mind would say, maybe I should have tried harder, like in that direction. So there are
Okay, this is
things,
interesting.
yes, like for instance, uh, because the answer was probably, he's just not the right person. Like we're like just not a match. But then how where you are trusting your heart, where there's still times where it was like up and down, and how did you find the courage to sit with it? Or how was that process to really discern, okay, what is my heart and what is the mind, and then also when you listen to your heart, the whole direction might change. So I'm really curious about this, how you were facing your fears and how
Yeah,
you were facing your dreams.
I took it one day at a time.
Mm.
One of the things that when you hit rock bottom, your greatest vision is to get through to the next day,
Mm-hmm.
just to make a great choice the next day, like to make a great choice today to lead to the next day. And so I took it one day at a time, one choice at a time. And I remember when I went through that experience and we separated, it was as though I started hearing my internal guidance system, because I remember this voice. I remember walking up through the city. It was really early morning. There weren't many people yet. It was a beautiful, clear sky. You know, that morning, the morning air and the morning sun and the morning, like just the sky. And then this voice just says, "You're finally hearing me." And then it
Mm.
said, the greatest hero in any relationship is the one that receives, not the one that gives. And then this experience of consciousness just moved through me around my life. I'm like, what is the greatest vision for my life? And I started writing and writing and writing, and I looked at this vision and I could feel it in my heart. And then I looked at everything that I judged myself on, right? Everything that I judged myself on. So, especially in my relationships, and especially when I hear my partners judge, like they would say, "You're such a dreamer. Get real, get realistic." Or that, like, you have so many ideas but you don't execute on any. So I wrote down every complaint that anyone ever had of me and every complaint that I had of myself. And I remember looking at this list and I'm like, yep, I'm going to love that part. I'm going to love this part, and I'm going to love this part, and I'm going to love this part. I'm never going to judge myself on any of these things ever again. And I don't know where that came from, besides like a heart cracking open that guided me to that. Like, I just knew that. And it was at that point, Anne Sophie, that I was like, stop pretending you don't want to be in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ownership of really going all in on that commitment and that experience, like, to not play cool anymore, right? Because that's what I was doing a lot. To go, no, I
Mm.
want to spend my life with someone. I want to be able to enjoy this. I want to experience a relationship, a really healthy one. The moment I took ownership of that, I was able to take ownership of the unhealthy ways of being from a place of compassion. Not from a place of I didn't do enough, I wasn't good enough, or where did I go wrong, but just from a real place of, oh, you thought that way because here's the identity. And that identity, like, I knew that that version of that identity of who I was being was never, ever going to have me be in a healthy relationship. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Yes.
Who I was being was never going to give me the healthy relationship. So how that version was thinking was never going to give me the healthy relationship. And so I knew that thoughts weren't mine. And I think this is a really important point in the hero's journey, where we're able to understand that there was who we are being in a certain moment in time and who we get to become. And in that becoming, it's not I'm gonna, like, go to sleep and then wake up tomorrow to be that person. It is in the daily commitments, the daily choices, the practice, like, the moment by moment, day by day practice. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. Basically, facing your patterns, like getting aware of
Yeah.
them. And when you're getting aware of them, doesn't mean that they go away instantly, but like, how would you meet yourself when you were getting aware of your patterns and decided to do something differently? Because I could imagine that the body still is like going into survival mode. So, how did you navigate this journey, like breaking down the old self and creating the Well, not necessarily creating a new self. The new self or like your true authentic self was already there, but connecting to that.
So what I knew was that life is a set of practices. So like I said, I was already in leadership training and I knew what had people create change. Right? I knew the formula for it from your mind. I knew that it was, you have to take different actions. I knew that action heals. Without action, there's nothing that's going to change. Yes, action heals, but the energy of the action is also what matters. Because you could be taking an action, but if it's still in the energy of the old identity, that's not going to work. So with anything, you need a training program, right? And at the end of the day, we're an infinite spiritual being having a human experience. You can't bypass the mind, you can't bypass the body. And so that's when I did 1,000 days of daring greatly. Every day for 1,000 days, document whether you were in your heart or not. And so during the day, like I would notice when I'm in a conversation with someone. And then at nighttime, I actually reviewed myself and I wrote it out. How were you breathing? What did you say? What did you really want to say? What happened in that moment? Did you love yourself more after you walked away or did you love yourself less? And I did this every day for 1,000 days. And so then I knew myself mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I knew all the patterns and the ways of thinking. I knew exactly when I was in my head and not in my heart. I knew like it was a mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual practice. So now, it's like a maestro who continuously practices the violin or an instrument. You hear the instrument, or a Michelin star chef. Their palate is so different to an ordinary person's palate. So in this process, I'm attuning to the different ways of being mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and I'm understanding human being for what human being is.
Yeah.
And I'm understanding my own humanity and then learning what would love do, what would love say, what would love look like in this experience.
Beautiful. Thank you for giving some more insight into that. It's always very interesting how people were or dealing, or not dealing, but like practicing these things. That is important. And from there on, how were you were just basically observing yourself, reviewing yourself, and I guess this also has changed your decision making. So maybe you can tell us more about how you decided to change the your path and in what direction you were heading, some insights that you got from, listening to your heart a bit more.
So this is amazing. So then synchronicity started happening, right? At that time, so I'm 29, I'm searching something on the internet and this big poster, like this big imagery text comes up and it's by a company called Holstee, Holstee. And this poster says, "This is your life. Do what you love and do it often. If you don't love your job, quit. If you love traveling, go. The love of your life will be found when you are doing things you love." And I remember reading this and just crying because I
Oh.
recognized that I never thought that my life was my own. And so at 29, after seeing this poster, I'm like, I'm going to live what that poster says. This is my life. If I don't like something, I can quit. I can follow my heart. And so that's when I started another business that I loved. I made changes. I was like, this is the line in the sand. I'm no longer going to go back to consulting. I decided I didn't like it anymore, right? Like I realized that the money was really good, but I was doing it for the money. I wasn't doing it for love. And if the love of my life is going to come based on when I'm doing things that are loving to me, I was like, well, I've never attracted the love of my life before. So let me do something different and figure this out, because the mind that creates the problem can't be the same mind that solves it. So I just started making different choices. I started keeping promises to myself.
Yeah.
right? I started really honoring myself as someone that I would love. I started asking myself, would I be my own best friend? How can I be my own best friend? How can I talk to myself as a loving person? I started reading books on love because I realized I had no reference. And so I think this is why love is a mystery to people, because they don't actually study it.
Yeah.
Like if you go to someone, what is love? And I say this with heart and I say this with compassion, but so I guide and mentor and coach people on living from the heart. And I'm currently writing a book called Meet Fear with Love, and it's all about the heart. So then I've done like 20 or 30 interviews with people. And I ask them, what is fear and what is love? And the best answer that everyone gives me about love is it's a feeling, it's bliss.
Yes.
They have no one, like love is the most important thing in your life. And then I ask, well, when do you actually sit down and study it? They're like, what do you mean? It should just come naturally. I'm like, well, it depends, right? Like it depends, but love is an active verb. Love is an action. Love is a choice. It's a way of thinking, a way of being, a way of behaving, a way of relating to life. And so I started studying love each and every day, and I still do. Like I still study love. Not from the mind, but from an experience and observing it. And so much of it has to do with understanding our humanity. And understanding how love moves, understanding how fear moves, understanding survival versus creation. And so, for me, it was like a huge practice and taking action every day that was loving. I had to take an action every day that was loving to myself. And that is how I actually understood when I'm in my heart versus when I'm in my head.
What actions did you take? Like, I'm curious about it. Like, how you decided to do a loving thing for yourself, or just how to choose love.
This is really good. So I knew that one of my behaviors was people pleasing. I knew that one of my behavior, and I saw people pleasing as manipulative. So when I was studying these human behaviors, there was a book that I was reading. It was like emotional blackmail. It was a book on emotional blackmail. And it talked about how when you are people pleasing, you're actually manipulating people.
Wow, yeah, yeah.
Because you're manipulating them to like you.
Yes, yeah.
The moment I read that, it was like I wanted to vomit, because we think that being a people pleaser is very holy and good. But when we actually understand that you're manipulating, like you are being manipulative and you're not being truthful.
Yeah.
Now you're like, oh my God, I'm disgusted by that. And so I had to feel how that felt in my body. And so when I was reviewing myself each and every day, a lot of the times the actions were, where am I not speaking up? Where are you acting from a place where you're trying to get someone to like you versus being truthful? And so a lot of the times the actions was to have a conversation, to actually speak my truth, to ask for what I wanted, to say what I needed, to stop playing small.
Yes.
And so the actions of love weren't like a bubble bath or like, go get a massage. No, they were conversations that were really, really hard. They were picking up the phone and talking to my father, picking up the phone and talking to my mother, and saying things that have been swept under the carpet, swept skeletons in the closet, being able to speak up to myself. They were, when you're actually loving yourself, you have to be prepared for how confrontational that may be to other people. Because if you've trained them your entire life on how to relate to you, and now you're speaking up for yourself, that's going to be a shock to a lot of people.
I love as well how you say that it also involves like speaking up. I think sometimes subconsciously we may have this belief that love is like except like not speaking up and just like leaving all people like they are, like of course there's compassion, but it doesn't mean to shut your own voice down, finding the balance. I love that you were saying that.
Yeah, it's finding the harmony. I like using the word harmony
Mm,
because there is a way to be able to create harmony, right? And I remember this conversation with my mum.
mm,
She said, why can't you just make us happy by making the choices we want you to make?
mm,
And I remember saying to her, Mum, if you want me to be who you want me to be, but I'm miserable and I'm unhappy, what would you have me choose? Like, what would you choose? Like, have me do? And she looked me straight in the eye and she goes, I gave birth to you. You make me happy. That was so powerful for me because that was truth. Because she spoke what generations of parents can't say, that you owe me your happiness, even if it costs you your misery. And in that moment, I was freed and I was like, I can't make you happy. I'm going to choose my life.
mm,
She's not saying anything that is mean or vindictive. She's saying something generational that's been passed down.
mm,
But she had the guts to say that to me because I had the courage to ask her the question.
mhm.
And I asked her the question and she thought and thought and thought. And she goes, No, I want you to make me happy. I gave birth to you. That was freedom. The moment you hear truth, you are free. It was like my ex-husband that said, I actually don't really enjoy anything you do. I just wanted a simple wife that stayed home, that cooked and cleaned. That then gives you freedom. There's no right or wrong. It's not people being vindictive. It's not a morality thing. It's being able to speak and understand why things aren't working
Mhm.
because of people's expectations.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow. That's really courageous and freeing at the same time.
Yeah. I think in the journey, like a hero's journey, for me, so much of it is truth. Making space for someone else's truth and making space for my truth and understanding that the highest truth means that everyone is flourishing. That me, in choosing my truth, it doesn't mean that anyone else is going to hurt. And if they are hurting, it's not about me. It's that they're denying some truth that's happening here, right? So did my mum feel hurt when I chose myself? Yes. But her hurt is not because of me. Her hurt is because of her refusal to face truth. There's a difference. And love says allow someone to have the experience that they need to have and don't take it on as yours. It's not your responsibility. So this
Wow.
is what love does. Love creates clarity. Yeah, and then you follow through. You don't save that person. You don't take on their pain.
Wow. That is a really powerful statement. That is, I love that. I think that also for myself gave clarity because I noticed as I listening to you, so, oh, I think I have confused love also, like in some areas of my life, maybe more, sometimes less, sometimes more with, oh, I have to create harmony. But love is speaking truth and then also just having giving each other space because it's true like you said in the beginning, where you notice like even if people come they cannot rescue you, so it's like a journey that kind of has to flourish inside out. And I guess if you would take on another's person or trying to solve it for them, then they miss out on all the wisdom and all the experience. And I feel like my mind kind of slowly understanding that this is not, like you said, it's not a morality thing. It's also not, it's actually, it sounds maybe in the beginning as a very, like almost mean because it's like so different from what mostly in society we are used to. And I'm now excited to find, like when we go further now with your journey, to also see how this turned into actually some very beautiful, into a loving life that you are living now and that it's worth it. Because in my body, there's also still like, oh, this is scary. Like, I don't want to lose or I don't want to lose certain connections, or I don't want to, this sounds like not loving, but in a way you choose yourself, and when you choose truth, then only beautiful things can evolve, but it can be also painful to shed like these old identities and these old neural networks that are breaking down. So I'm also curious, how like this process of grieving the old life and the
Yeah.
process of falling in love with the new life. I'm really excited to hear now how your journey continues with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much grieving the old life or loving the new life. I think it is a grief of who I was
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and a love of who I am, but also a love of who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a continuous journey. It's not just one moment in time. And so you're constantly in a place of grief and love, in a place of chaos and order, in a place of destruction and creation. And the acceptance of that creates so much humility and softness and generosity and compassion. And you're absolutely right. One of the ways that I reconciled for me in choosing myself was I spent almost 3 decades living my life for other people to get approval.
Mm-hmm.
And that I knew that that wasn't going to give me the life that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I also knew that it's my responsibility to learn how to love myself to create the life I want. And if that's going to cost a relationship, if that's going to cost someone disagreeing with me, I'm willing to bear that pain of losing something else so that I can gain more love for myself. Till this day, I am unwilling to tolerate any relationship that doesn't choose me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay, because what is true cannot be broken, and what is yours will never pass you by. And if there's a relationship that's based on truth, we'll always choose each other. But if I choose myself and that compromises their view of the world and they reject that, that's not on me.
Yeah.
I can understand it. I can have compassion. I can have generosity. I can still have love. But I will never, ever, ever abandon myself again to keep a relationship alive. And that's love. That's an act of love, where you stop abandoning yourself to keep something in existence that doesn't serve you.
Beautiful.
But then with that comes a lot of grief. Because love's a really high frequency, truth's a really high frequency. What is not of truth, what is not of love will fall away. Because you just don't have tolerance for anything other than that's not truth,
Wow. And then how you set your boundaries and you choose yourself. And I could imagine that maybe for a few viewers it sounds like, that sounds scary. I'm not sure if this is worth it to follow through this. Well, let's ask
Yeah.
you, was it worth it? I guess it
Oh,
was.
absolutely. The thing was, I was 29. I hear this voice, and I made a promise to myself from that day on, you're only going to live from your heart. You're going to make every choice from your heart. You're going to ask heart, what would you want me to do? Heart, what would love do? Heart, where would you guide me? I can't remember the last time, 29, when I made a choice from my mind. Was it scary? Yes. But what was scarier for me was to actually go back to that person. That terrified me, that I would stay the same and that I would tolerate the same behavior from myself, that I would abandon myself to that depth. That's still way scarier for me than actually the experience of choosing courage. This occurs as the only path for me. Like there's this quote where it's like burn the bridges, like burn the boats, right? And go all in. I burnt the boat. I burned the boats on that life, like just to go, no, I'm going to go all in on living from my heart, because I was terrified. I mean, the fact that the only path that I could see to get out of what pain I was to end my life. I knew I needed drastic change.
That is powerful. Also right now there's like a lot of like things that I for myself I'm taking in, and I notice, oh yeah, because right now I'm also like in a situation where a lot of things are changing. I wouldn't say I'm like in a total dead end. So for me, it's now deciding, changing from a place of inspiration rather from desperation. And I do feel still quite a lot of fear in my body, like what if things don't work out? But at the same time, I also feel like lightness and excitement to it. So this is very, very amazing for me to hear as well right now. Yes.
Yeah. This journey is not clear cut. This journey is not
Yeah.
black and white. This journey is very much, um, the hero's journey,
Mm.
where you're hiking a mountain. You don't know what the season, like, you have an idea of the season, but you can't predict the weather. You don't know what that's going to be like. And every step you take is just, you're
Mhm.
in the unknown consistently.
Yes.
You're in the unknown. And what you have, though, is the faith in yourself. What you have, though, is the trust in yourself. What you have, though, is the courage within yourself. And so I find that the hero's journey is less about out there and more about what gets activated that has been laid dormant to wake up within you.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. It's always, I would also say, it's always like an inside journey, and probably the most courageous thing and the most rewarding and also the most scary thing is the journey from within. Because I've been also traveling a lot abroad by myself and done some cool things. But the journey within, like
Yeah,
facing the fears, facing the discomfort, and then having grace and compassion and still choosing what your heart says, even if you cannot predict anything. And from the mind, it
yeah,
doesn't even make sense. Like, but the things are not even here yet. Like, how is this supposed to work out? This can be so a physical, also intense process because you feel
yeah,
that also in your body. It's not only in your mind. It's like your body or nervous system is actually contracting and then coming back to your heart. This is like a fascinating, very fascinating journey. So yes, I would love to hear what decisions you made, like apart from the difficult conversations. What else, like what kind of decisions or situations you've made where from the outside it might have been really like illogical, but you followed through with it and then there was something awaiting from you. Because also one of my intention is to kind of, I can't take away the fear from the listeners because obviously like they're on their own journey, but what I love hearing and what gives me personally also very great courage is to hear, yes, there's always something awaiting from you. If you trust and have faith, that is like mostly the only thing that you need. If you trust your heart, you actually can listen to your heart. The heart is not just like a woo thing, but you can actually, there's wisdom in there. You can listen to it. And that's what I always love when I hear people were just following this little nugget, and then this little nugget turned into something beautiful.
yeah. Wow, I mean, there's just so many because I think I've been living from my heart since 29, so I'm like
Mm.
44 now. Every choice I've made in terms of my parenting, in terms of relationships, in terms of even business has been from my heart. What do you think would really serve the listeners? Even my health, like I've had some major health scares and everything's been done from my heart as well.
Wow.
What could I draw from that would really help the listeners? Or you?
Honestly, maybe I think because you were also coming from a very like high performing background, you said, and then you wanted to be in a place of receiving, maybe around, um, yeah, business love. Actually, I think I mean, at the end, it's like the same energy, but just like concrete examples would be in
Yeah.
general very helpful.
Let's do business because I think this was a
Okay.
really profound one for me.
Okay.
So I'm 3 weeks into being a mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a startup at that time, and I had consulting roles. But I was such a high performer that, when I was pregnant, I said to the baby, "You're not allowed to come out until my consulting role has been finished, because I've already got paid for this, and so I just want to do the right thing by the company." That's so I worked up until I was giving birth, and I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that. I thought that that was normal. I thought that that's what you just do. Now, I'm going to teach my sons very differently. Or anyone, you make time to nurture yourself. So I give birth, I was literally in labor and still working. And I was like, "Baby, you're going to stay in. I need to send out this document. I need to, that's how high, on edge I was." So anyway, the baby came, and I'm, when I had this beautiful baby boy, I would speak to a lot of mothers beforehand, and I'm like, what challenged you about motherhood? And they're like, "Oh, you're always going to put yourself last. You're never going to have a shower. You feel dirty." They just said all of these things. So then I learned from that, and I said, well, when I become a mother, I'm going to have a shower every day, have a hot meal every day, and do something for myself every day. So I remember he's 3 weeks old, he's sleeping. I just had the shower, and it's the morning, and I'm making myself a hot breakfast. And my head is racing with all the things that I need to do or want to achieve. And we're sitting, I'm standing in the kitchen, and I'm looking out of the window, these sliding doors, so floor to ceiling glass windows, and I'm looking out at the horizon, and it's really quiet, and I experience wholeness work through me, wholeness. The thing that I've been seeking from this 1,000 days of daring greatly, where I'm like, what does the wholehearted feel like? What does the wholehearted do? And wholeness said to me, your son chose you. He doesn't care how much is in the bank account. He doesn't care what your startups are doing. He doesn't care about anything but you. Can you meet him with love no matter what? And if you are whole for yourself, you're able to meet him in his wholeness. But if you're not whole for yourself, you're always going to see where he's lacking. And I started crying in that moment, because whatever I thought I was seeking through my businesses, through achievement, to get me somewhere, to prove myself, to say, "Hey, Dad, see, are you proud of me yet?" Which I realize you're never going to get. If your parents, if you are waiting for those words that they're proud of you, and you haven't got them, it's not because of you, it's because they're not proud of themselves. They can't give you what they don't have. So what then happened was I was like, I'm whole. This is great, I'm whole. And in that moment, I got out these huge A3 pieces of paper. I wrote down everything that I thought I had to do, everything I thought I had to achieve. And I put a big cross, and I said, I'm not allowed to even entertain any of this. My job right now, all that's needed is to love myself, to honor this life that's chosen me. So then I put my business on hold. And I also had a heart practice. I remember this business, being an entrepreneur, it can be really excruciating.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time in the business where I placed my hand on my heart, and I said, "Heart, what would you have me do?" And it said, "Keep going." And then during this time that I was I was a mother, I placed my hand on my heart, and heart said, "Pause it. You don't need to do it anymore." I'm like, "Hey, this is great." And so, motherhood completely changed my understanding of needing to slow down. And in motherhood, I asked myself, because I understood that we think that we're going to change when the money comes in. We think that we're finally going to get the life we want once the money comes in. And now I understood that with or without the money, I'm whole. With or without the money, this is just life. So I asked myself, what do I want my business to look like as a mother? and it said you only work 10, 20 hours a week maximum, and this is how much you want to earn. And then I was like, okay, this is really interesting. It actually changed the way that I related to work. And I also understood that whether you have $100 in your bank account or $1 million in your bank account or $10 million in your bank account, if you think $100 is never enough, $1 million would never be enough. And 10 million would never be enough. So in those beginning years of being a mother, I really built the foundation of abundance when we didn't have much. Because my husband also wanted to stay home and be with the children or be with our child. And I understood, the heart says, I asked the heart, what do we do? Because this seems illogical for two people to be at home to look after kids.
Yes.
In Sydney. And it's not like we had a lot of savings. And the logical thing would be, because we had high paying consulting jobs, to go to work and do all of that. But the heart said, the universe doesn't give you a dream without the equal resources to support it. Your job is to stay in faith. So my son didn't come through me to then have me sort out and figure out how I was going to take care of him by compromising myself. So both of us chose this lifestyle that was so unique, that was absurd to every family member. Was money tough? Yes. But I said, like, all my needs are taken care of. And I really put in perspective, like, how much do we need really? And I understood that the little that we had, if I could still feel whole with the little that we had, once the money floods in, it wouldn't have a grip on me. It doesn't mean anything about my worth. So those first few years that were really hard, I was yes, this is a hard experience and it doesn't mean anything about me and I'm whole. And so Anne Sophie, what happened was I had this vision of who I got to be as a mom, who I got to be as an entrepreneur. And out of the blue, someone started asking me about graphics and web design, and that was my background in consulting and like development, software development. And I was helping, there was a small business that was down the road from where we were living. And he said, oh, do you reckon you can make me flyers? Like, could you like design some flyers for me? And I'm like, yeah, sure. What's your budget? And he said $60. So I used to like consult for $1,500 a day. And here someone's offering me $60. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is amazing. This is me getting paid while I'm at home with my kids. Mm-hmm. So I didn't care about the amount. I cared about the frequency and what this opportunity represented. I didn't think, oh, I'm going backwards. This is embarrassing. I was like, this is evidence. Mm-hmm. I didn't think I'm too good for this. Oh my God, you did your uni degree and, you know, you were earning like $250,000, like you're making so much money and like here you're accepting $60. No, I didn't do that. Like love doesn't say that you're going backwards. Love says, look for the evidence. Love says, look for the evidence of how life is loving you back. Mm-hmm. And then learn that frequency. That $60 was probably like, it changed everything for me. Because I was so grateful. Because Anne Sophie, when I was consulting, I would just look at my bank account and go, that's never enough. I was never grateful for the money that came in. I was only looking at, I was selling my soul. I hated consulting. I hated the work. I was complaining a lot. Mm-hmm. This $60 taught me gratitude.
Wow, yeah.
And I knew that if I could be grateful for this, then it was never about the amount of the money, but it was a gratitude that came from within me to how I viewed life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fast forward a few years and things are getting really tough. There's $700 in the bank account and $700 on our credit card. And we've got 2 kids. Mm-hmm. And I've been working on this startup or this thing. And I'm like, heart, I've done everything you told me to do. Heart, I followed you. And we're down to the red line. And during this week, someone headhunted me. And they're like, hey, here's an easy solution. This is, a multi-6-figure consulting deal. Mm-hmm. It was very tempting. And then heart said no. And I remember that feeling where it's like, wow, this is that same feeling where it's like all your troubles can be taken away, but you know it's the wrong path or not the aligned path. And then I placed my hand on my heart and I'm like, no, if I've been doing everything in alignment, hold the line, like stay true. That time was when I was turning 40 and we had booked a trip to celebrate my 40th. And my husband's like, do we even go because we have no money? Like, And I said, heart, what do I do? And the heart said, go. And I'm like, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. Like, what? Now, anyone that's listening to this, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm telling you, you got to listen to your own heart. I'm not saying go do and make these risky things. Like there's a bigger thing at play here. There's more energetics that's involved here. This is just my unique experience. So then I said to my husband, we're going. And this was like this almost demarcation where I was like, I am so done with the identity of survival. I'm so done with the identity of believing that I have to sell my soul.
Yeah.
I'm so done with that. Like I am going to step into and take an action to show the universe that I have faith. As the plane landed, my business started making sales. That was the first month I had a $50,000 month. Then the next month, then the next month. And I was like, it was as though the universe gives you the opportunities for you to expand your frequency, to be able to receive what is already yours. And I haven't looked back since. So that is what has opened up with the heart. And I'm looking back at my journal and I wrote the vision like 15 years ago. I just knew like this was the vision for my life and I'm living that vision today.
Beautiful.
In all the areas, like my relationship, my business, my family, who I get to be as a mother. And I think the heart is not a passive participant in your life. The heart is very much creative. And the heart is the greatest fortune teller, I think, of who you are and who you're going to be.
Amazing. I got goosebumps.
Does that help?
I got goosebumps.
Yeah. No, tell me about the goosebumps.
Because I think when you said like listen to your heart, and then you also said to the viewers like it's not about what kind of actions you choose, it was just what your heart told you to do. And I think me personally, sometimes I also got confused with like, oh, I think I should do this because this new person would do this, but then the energy behind the action wasn't aligned. So sometimes like that was a powerful message, I feel, and that was a great reminder to all you have to do. And usually when you listen to your heart, you're always going to be on the safe side in a way. Because I remember all the times when I didn't listen to my intuition or to my heart, it usually there was it got worse. And then I was like, I should have listened to it.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it involves like, yeah, you have no idea how it's evolving. You don't really know like how it's gonna turn out. But looking back, for instance, there was a time where two times actually, where I knew I had to move out. I was living with a guy in the Netherlands, and it was not really healthy, not a healthy shared apartment situation, and everything inside of me screamed like, "Move out!" But it was only like 2 months or so up to my graduation. And I was like, oh, I'm not gonna find something and like just bite, just, suck it up and just, only 2 months. And it ended being up so stressful. Again, he, in himself, like, oh, no, no, definitely not an evil person. Like, actually, quite a sweet person from within, but there were just a few things that he had to work on himself as well, and also some patterns, and they were not healthy for me in this joint living situation, because he blamed his emotions on me. He would be sharing his food and everything with me. He was like in that regard very like in his essence a nice person, but then he had these extreme mood swings. And then during it was a very stressful situation for me, because I also was quite vulnerable during that time, just coming from a retreat and just working on all those emotional turmoil. And then I decided, nah, just like push through, push through, push through. And I remember I was like so exhausted from that living situation. Like I should have just moved out. So
Yeah.
that was one lesson, and then this lesson came around again, like less extreme, I would say, when I was in living in Zurich in my living with students, and then I noticed, yeah, okay, it's not gonna work out anymore. But then I was like, oh no 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 no, don't think this way, because you're gonna create this. So I was kind of running away from or facing from what I actually wanted, and I didn't want to live with a student apartment anymore. And then they ended up coming to me and telling me like, yeah, I think it doesn't fit anymore. Like, so it went apart in a nice way, but just like things that I learned again and again, like, nope, girl, just be real with what you really want.
Yeah.
And no doesn't mean like you're not creating no harmony. It's actually very loving to be honest to yourself and to others. And it doesn't mean that no one of the parties like evil or just mean. That it's just not in alignment, and it is fine. So I really loved when you were saying that you just listened to your heart and you followed that cue, and in the end it went well. And yes, so that's why I got goosebumps. I was like, yes,
So
the
good.
heart.
Yeah. Yeah. The heart is like a skill, and I think this is what's really important, because some people like, is it my intuition? Is it my heart? Like, how do I discern between
Yeah,
the different voices? This is why it takes time to cultivate that relationship.
yeah, yeah, yes.
And if you don't spend time and energy and effort and intentionality in cultivating the most important relationship in your life, you're never going to know.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like, I can give someone a piano, but if they don't have the piano book, if they don't learn the scales, if they don't have a teacher, if they don't have any reference point to learn from, the
Yeah.
likelihood of them going to be learning the piano is a lot lower.
Yes. Yeah.
Learning how to be human is also a skill set. Learning how to connect, learning how to listen to your heart, learning the nuances and all the the thing about our humanity is part of the process of living from your heart.
Yeah.
Understanding humanity is part of and a requirement to understand what it means to live from your heart,
Yes, definitely. Do
so
you
that you can
have
hear that.
any recommendations, like book recommendations, or like now I'm curious, what kind of books helped you to get an understanding, or like what love is, or like what compassion does, what self-love looks like? What were the teachers or books that kind of helped you on this path?
Wow, so many. So there's The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukov, Brené Brown's Daring Greatly. I think these 6 books, I'm just looking at my bookshelf over here, but it was those 6 books that really, actually, another one is Think on These Things by Krishnamurti. Each of these 7 books taught me a practice that I used in my daily life on how I started understanding love. One of the things that, if I could share with you, was I was 25 when I read this, and I didn't really understand it until after my divorce. But Krishnamurti talks about how conditional we are with our love. And he says, you love someone, but if they have an affair, do you still love them? And he says love would mean that you would forgive them and stay with them.
Mm-hmm.
And you would like make anew and understand everything. He goes, but that takes a lot of courage.
Yes.
And I remember when I read this, I was like, screw that. Why would you stay with someone that like betrayed you? And then I was like, wow, I'm very conditional.
Yes.
And to own that we are conditional in our love means that now we've got a chance to be unconditional in our love. But until
Yes.
we own that we are conditional, we have no chance to choose how to be conditional. And it was after during my separation and divorce, I was like, yeah, I really was so conditional with him. And that's not
Mm.
love. And that's how I was able to end the marriage with so much peace in my heart. Because I knew that I was conditional.
Mm-hmm.
And I could own that. And so no love is going to survive when it's conditional.
Wow, that is a beautiful message. I'm curious about, do you think if you had loved him unconditional, that it
Would have worked?
would have worked, or is there also like a part of like there's like a desire that you're allowed to have, like that you want in a relationship? Like how does this tie together, especially when it becomes is around love and relationships? It's something that I've sometimes wondered. Like, okay, if I really unconditional love this person, then it doesn't even matter with who I am. Or is there still like a calling in my soul, like, okay, you want to have certain, values that are in alignment with yourself and like similar, a partner that has similar values and stuff. This has always been very just curious about this
Yeah.
unconditional love. Like the higher you go, aren't you then at the one point in love with everyone and everything? And does it even matter with what you are? So, but it's just a playful question. Like I'm curious
It's
about your
actually
take on.
it's such a really great question. I became unconditional with my love after we broke up because I wanted him to have a great life. I really wanted things to work out for him. I wanted him to be happy. So unconditional love doesn't mean that things work out by staying together.
Ah,
Unconditional love means the highest and greatest unfolding for everyone, that there's a blessing, there is a genuine care and commitment to have the other person, like you want them to win in life, with or without you,
yes, that makes sense. That makes
right?
sense.
And so I like the unconditional love came after we broke up. Where I genuinely wanted him to have a great life. I genuinely wanted him to find love. I genuinely wanted him to have the life that he's always wanted. Yeah.
That's a beautiful reminder.
Is that helpful?
Yes, definitely, definitely. And it
Yeah.
makes sense. I just noticed, like, also during this whole conversation, like, some patterns that are kind of subconsciously, like, were sleeping within me. And I, like, when you said this, I'm like, of course. But this is why I love doing this podcast too, because you stumble upon some things that you weren't even aware of, like, oh my goodness, yes,
Yeah.
true. Like I don't have to force everything. Love means also setting free and allowing the world
Yes.
to unfold it in whatever way it's unfolding. So that
Yeah.
was a really great reminder. Thank you.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. And then, the other I was thinking The Mastery of Love and the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. He talked about how we're very domesticated in our religion, in our culture,
Mhm.
and he talks about how we take on agreements that we've never questioned.
Yeah.
And then we're living someone else's dream.
Mm.
We're not living our dream, we're living someone else's dream. And I remember reading The Mastery of Love and just crying and crying and crying. Because it was the first time I was like, wow, I didn't even create my own dream.
Mm.
That's why the marriage didn't last, or the marriage wasn't like in alignment, it was because I was living my parents, like living what society, like religion, indoctrination was telling me to do. And when we live other people's agreements, it never works out.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Beautiful. I'm, I'm so grateful for this episode. Wow. No, beautiful. That was such a powerful reminder. It's so great. That's also an invitation for all of the people who are listening. Keep on learning. Keep on learning and studying compassion, read books, listen to people. Although I think I'm a great fan of reading books because reading has a much different quality of instead of simply listening. So go out there and just like, keep evolving your mental model of love and
Yes.
apply it, experience something new. Wow, I'm gonna write all these books down that you just mentioned and I will put them down below for sure. And then also, um, now, like, when the hero comes back from their journey, there's like a homecoming journey, and he brings like
Yeah.
the wisdom back to the community. And I'm curious, like, I know you do some coaching. What would you say is like, what are your gifts? What is your treasure, your experience that you absolutely love sharing and feel called to share? And yes.
I think we often look for purpose, right? We go like, what's my purpose? What I'm here to do. There is no higher purpose than being in love with yourself. Like your purpose is you, your purpose is your life. It's not something out there. And even when I say, you're like there is no higher purpose than to be in love with your life, I don't mean like having an Instagram life or like a social media life that's like, for show and going, look how much I love my life. I don't mean
Mm.
that. I actually mean a genuine quality of understanding what it means to love your life. What
Mm.
does love mean in life? Am I being love? Am I receiving as love? Is love working through me? Is love in this space in between us right now? What would
Mm.
love do? What would love say? Am I being an
Yes.
act of love? Am I being in service to love?
Yes.
There is no higher purpose than that.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, and from there, it's like your life is created from love. So no worries there. If you create if you love from, like, if this is the only thing you do, living from the heart and like being guided by love, then don't you worry. That's gonna be a life that you love.
Yeah, because your life is now your creation. So
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
gonna, right? So if God is love and love is God and God is the creator, and if there's no higher purpose than to be in love with your life, there's no higher purpose than to be the God for your life. Then therefore you are the creator of your life. And if love is truth, because love liberates and the truth sets you free, and love is truth, there is no higher purpose than truth, because the truth sets you, the highest version of you, free.
Beautiful.
You know? Now that may sound very inspiring, but it is the hero's journey,
Yeah.
day to day to day.
Yes. Amazing. No, this is this is a really wholesome episode. I'm so happy about this episode. I got to take away so much for myself as well. Like this is like, oh yeah, true. Yes, amazing. Yeah. Yes, I'm so grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much for
Oh,
being
you're so
here
welcome.
with us today. And then, yes, let us know where we can find you if people are curious, like regarding coaching. I know that you're doing coaching sessions. If you want to tell a little bit more about that, please. This is your time to share where we can find you.
Yeah, amazing. So I teach people how to live from the heart. Like, I really teach people to live from the heart, not just as an esoteric thing, like a grounded understanding day by day to be able to live what you know in your families, in your business, in your life. So you can find me at Yummii Nguyen, YUMMII Nguyen, NGUYEN.com. I'm also writing a book called Meet Fear with Love at the moment, and that's going to be released hopefully by the beginning of the year, next year. And that's all about the practicalities and the grounded practices on basically meeting your fears with love and how to live from your heart.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, and Sophie, I love spending this time with you.
Thank you. I really loved it too. Like I really like for me it's like 12:30,
Yeah.
12:39. I'm like, yes. Let's start the
Yeah.
day with love and let's continue choosing love. And I'm gonna choose love here and here and here and here and here and here and here. So that was a really liberating conversation.
Oh, thank you so much for creating this space. It's been so delightful.
Amazing. We definitely dove deep, fulfilled our intention with a lot of love. So thank you so much. And thank you for joining along Yummie's journey to all the listeners. I know that you're going to take away a lot of things. And I again encourage you to choose love, to choose love. I hope this has inspired you and also given you like a feeling of safety and knowingness. Returning back to your heart is a safe thing to do.
Mm.
And just sending you all so much love. And yes, have a wonderful day. And I see you in the next episode. Bye.
Fantastic.